What's going on, guys? Today I want to talk about how to ship your products from China and Alibaba to the USA, whether that's your home or directly to an Amazon FBA warehouse. Now there's a lot of confusion of how to do this, and I think that stems from how many different options there really are to get your product over from China to the USA. So I want to clarify all those options, all the steps, the exact process, and everything you should be looking out for when it comes to shipping products from China to the USA. That way you can figure out what's the best way for me, my product, and my business. That way you can move forward and go ahead and get your product sent over to an Amazon FBA warehouse or even to your home. Before we get started, I just want to welcome in anybody new to this channel. My name is Camron James. I've been selling on Amazon for over 3 years now. My first year I did over $1.3 million in sales. I don't plan on going anywhere, and this YouTube channel is here to share my journey and share everything new I learned about Amazon FBA. So if you're learning about Amazon FBA or the e-commerce space, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. That way you're learning everything I'm learning and not missing out. Otherwise, guys, let's get right into the video. The first thing I want to talk about is the 3 different ways you can get your product over from China to the USA, either to your home if you want to inspect it first, or get right into an Amazon FBA warehouse if you want to be hands off. The first way you can get your product sent over to the USA is through your manufacturer. So, whether that's on Alibaba, you use the sourcing agent, your manufacturer most likely in China has the capability and the experience of shipping your product over to the USA, whether that is to Amazon FBA, which hopefully they already have experience in, or just to your home and setting up that whole process. Now, a pro of using your manufacturer is that when you pay for your product, you can just pay for shipping right there. It's a one-stop shop, and it's a lot less work because you don't have to go find another company to take care of this for you. Now, a con of this, and I've seen it in my own business, is that if your manufacturer is charging you for shipping, which is a variable rate, which changes, month to month, and season to season, and everything like that, well, they can fluctuate your prices based on, the discounts you may be receiving for your products if you're buying in bulk, or to make sure that they're making up the money or differences if something happened on their end, or, a negotiation that happened just for your product. Now, to give you an example of this, and something that happened in my own personal business, is that when you start buying thousands and thousands of units from this manufacturer, well, you're going to go back and negotiate, a better price because you're buying in bulk. So when we did this, got 20 cents off here or 50 cents off here for these units, what happened was our shipping costs just kept going up and up and up, while these product costs went down and down and down. What they're doing is they're giving us better prices, on the product, but raising our shipping cost, to make sure that they're making their own and covering the cost of the discount they are giving us. Yes, I know that's a pretty shady practice to do. It's probably our fault for not picking the best manufacturer for that product. It's a product we actually don't sell anymore. All the things added up, we didn't know enough when we were still learning and everything like that. Now, I'm not saying every manufacturer in China is shady, but it's something we have to look out for. Now, the second way we can ship our product over from China to the USA is a service called DHL. Now, DHL is pretty cool because they're an express air shipping company, and then get your products over from China in like 3 to 4 days, which is absolutely amazing. Now, with a service like that, it obviously comes at a cost. And the best way to use DHL shipping is if you have a really light and small product. So if you have really heavy stuff, think of, weight sets or something that's big and bulky, DHL is not going to be a great choice for you just because the rates are so high for the weight and the volume of products. So only pick this if you have really small and light goods. Again, you can just get a quote from them if you're just kind of playing around and kind of messing around. Now, the one thing is you do have to make a DHL account to actually get quotes and get everything going. But if you don't want to do that and take the time to do that, you most likely can use your manufacturer's account number and try to figure out if you can use theirs when you're just beginning, or at least get a quote to figure out what's best for you. Now, the third way we can get our product shipped over to the USA or any other country we're selling, on Amazon with, we have Australia, Europe, Canada nowadays. The process is very, very similar, but that third way is my favorite way and the way I use the most of now, and that is using a freight forwarder. Now, there's a couple things you need to know about freight forwarding, and that is there's a couple different ways that your product can actually be sent over. And one is via air, very similar to DHL Express, but this takes about 7 to 10 days instead of 3 to 4 days for air, just your normal freight forwarder. And the other is sea. So sea freight is awesome because it's very cost effective versus air. But with that, it takes a long time. It can take up to 25 to 40 days to get your product over from China to the USA. Now, your next question might be, Cameron, how do I find a freight forwarder? That's a great question, and it's pretty tough. And we're going to be covering the process of how this works, all the steps to take care of, what things you should be looking out for, and how to set up this whole thing up so that it runs smoothly and you can be extremely hands-off and not have to worry about a thing, right? Just because it's an extremely complicated process, and it's something you shouldn't have to worry about in your business, because you should be worrying about, selling a really good product on Amazon and starting your business, not worrying about the complications of, this logistical nightmare from shipping products from China to the USA. There's companies and there's services out there that's all they do, and that's exactly how it should be. But before we talk about that process and all the steps of it, I first want to talk about, a question you probably already have is, Cameron, how do I find a freight forwarder? DHL, I can go to DHL.com. I'm a manufacturer. Obviously, I could talk to them because I'm already talking to them, about my product. But how do I find an independent freight forwarder that just deals with, shipping goods from China to the USA? I'm going to tell you right now, that's a great question. Just like any service out there, there's expensive ones, there's cheaper ones, there's bad ones, there's good ones, there's ones right in between, there's ones that speak, great English, there's ones that don't, there's ones that are based in China, there's ones that are based in the USA or around the world. So we have options here, and it is, tricky, just like you would do if you, got your car repaired here. Who do you trust? Who do you don't trust? Am I overpaying? Am I underpaying? And everything like that. So if you're looking for the top of the line freight forwarding and things that are taken care of correctly, you could talk to someone who speaks English, who speaks your language, then I would recommend getting a USA freight forwarder. And the best place you can find a freight forwarder in the USA is with a website called Freightos.com. So you can go on there, grab a quote, talk to a bunch of different freight companies here in the USA that you can work with. The issue with that is it is pretty expensive. Sometimes it can even ruin your margins just because of the price difference it is versus a freight forwarder you can get from China. And I actually personally only use Chinese freight forwarders. I do this because it's cost effective. Now, it was a little more work to actually find a good one that we trusted and had no issues with, and that we could actually have a dialogue with, just because of the language barrier. Just like your manufacturer, if you deal with a Chinese freight forwarder, there's gonna be sometimes you gotta ask questions a second or third or fourth time just because they didn't understand quite fully, and that's just something you have to work with. And I personally think the cost that you save doing this is worth it. Now, unfortunately, there isn't a great website you can find a bunch of Chinese freight forwarders that have been vetted and everything like that. And even if there is a website out there like that, I probably wouldn't want to be a part of it, just because I know the pricing of those freight forwarders would be jacked up just because of the convenience of it and everything being centrally located. So the way I find my freight forwarders in China is actually through word of mouth, and that's how I found mine and a couple others that I use. So the best way to do this is talk around in Amazon FBA communities, talk to the gurus out there, talk to people in my group to see if you can find a freight forwarder that they've used personally, someone you trust, you've talked to, right? And it can recommend you to that business itself. Obviously, just don't take their word for it. Talk to these freight forwarders, get to feel them out, everything like that. Maybe get 2 to 3 so you can get different quotes and figure out, what's priced the best, who do I trust the most, who has the best English that I can communicate with if anything goes wrong, and make your decision based on that, which I know it's a little extra work, but if you get a quote on Freightos and you get a quote from a Chinese freight forwarder that's competitive, you're gonna see what I'm talking about there when it comes to costs. So I hope that clears up a few things for you, but now let's talk about the process. Let's put all this stuff together and figure out how we do this. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is, when you're looking for shipping your product from China to the USA, is you're gonna wanna start getting quotes, okay? So I talked about the 3 different options, right? The manufacturer, DHL, and a freight forwarder, and the waves of different freight forwarders you can have, plus sea and air. The first thing you're going to do to figure out what's best for your business, because I'm sure you're asking me, like, I don't know if I should do air, DHL, sea, like, how do I know which one to do? And the best way to figure that out is by getting quotes, okay? So get a quote from your manufacturer for air and sea and figure out their pricing for that. Maybe the first couple times it's worth the convenience of working with your manufacturer to take care of your shipping and get your goods over to the US or whatever country it may be. Get a quote from DHL. Maybe you have a light product, but you don't know, like, oh, Cameron, how light you talking? How heavy you talking? I don't know your criteria for that. Well, go get a quote. That's the best way you can figure that out. And also, if you're weighing the decision between like a US freight forwarder or a Chinese freight forwarder, get quotes from both. Like, weigh the pros and cons of, this is a little more expensive, but I trust this a little more. Maybe this is the best way to go and it works for my product. Or on the other hand, your Chinese freight forwarder, you're getting a quote there, kind of weighing, it is cheaper, but do I trust them and everything like that. So that's the first step, getting quotes. And you can even get quotes while you're trying to figure out, before you even order the product, to figure out, Is your profit margin going to be there and everything like that? Because that is a big part of figuring out, is this product going to work for me or not? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more a little later, and a couple things you really need to watch out for and make sure you're protecting yourself if you're using a Chinese freight forwarder. But I want to continue on of how this process works. So you're getting quotes, right? So say your product is manufactured, you're ready to go, you're getting quotes, you figured out which one you want to work with. What do we do next? So next, once you have a verbal agreement with a company that they're going to be pushing your product for you to the USA, you now need to make a shipping plan for them. And you do this inside Amazon Seller Central. I'm going to go ahead and link a video of me doing that exact process if you need to see exactly how it is done, which will be up here, like I said, or in the description below, which I advise you guys just watching right after this video. That way, you don't miss anything, because I got a few more tips that are really, really important, and you can go ahead and figure that out once this video is over. So once you make this shipping plan on Amazon, a few things are going to happen here. One, once you make the shipping plan, they're going to give you master carton labels. So this is important because this is what you give to your manufacturer to put on the master cartons, or you can even have your freight forwarder do it at a later time. So these master carton labels, they need to go in your boxes for Amazon to realize, this is the seller who's sending them in, this is the product, this is how many that are supposed to be in this box, and for Amazon to actually accept them. Now, if you have a smaller order, you're going to do it just on a master carton level. If you have a bigger order, you're going to want to put them on a pallet. Again, you're going to talk to your freight forwarder here to figure out if they're doing pallets or just by the box, and they'll let you know. And then that video I have about making your shipping plan will tell you, which option to choose there. That way, exactly you're getting the right labels and you're getting the extra pallet labels that are needed for this process. Again, I know that sounds complicated, but it really isn't. The next video explains everything about that. A little pro tip here is if you want to get a really accurate quote from your freight forwarder, you're going to need to know which Amazon warehouse your product is going into. Now, the only way to do this is to actually make a shipping plan before you talk to your freight forwarder, which is actually not a very big deal. You can delete these in Amazon. You can actually just let them go and run out. And if they're never fulfilled, they just kind of delete themselves and they get canceled. So it's not a huge issue if you go ahead and make a shipping plan to figure out where Amazon wants to send your good. That way you can go ahead and say to your freight forwarder, it's going to ONT8, which is, I believe, a warehouse in California, or it's going to the Dallas warehouse or the Illinois warehouse or the New York warehouse. That way they can supply you with a super accurate quote on the shipping cost to get it from, they're going to, say sea shipping, it's going to get to the LA port, and then they're going to set up ground transit to whether that's, Dallas or Illinois or New York, or hopefully it's right there in LA, and they just go quickly drop it off for you guys, and it's a little cheaper for you. And like I said earlier, and why it's so important to find a great way and a great service to get your goods from China to the USA is because the process is super complicated. There's bonds, there's tariffs, there's customs, there's all this jargon that takes a full lifetime to kind of learn, and it's a career pathway that it's just you can't learn that and run your Amazon FBA business, especially when you're first learning. It's not a good pairing, and it's kind of 80-20 rule. It's something that you shouldn't be wasting your time on and everything like that. Of course, do your due diligence on all of this. It's just something personally I feel that you can be outsourced, and something that I probably wasted 6 to 8 months on trying to learn myself and try to put all the pieces together, when I could have just spent more time on my business and outsourced that right away with a company that I trusted. So if you don't know how bonds work, customs, tariffs, and all that good stuff, if you find a good freight forwarder, they're going to take care of all that for you and hopefully explain that whole process to you to make sure you're knowledgeable how it works and making sure you're, like I said, doing the due diligence that's needed. So with that being said, let's talk about a few things that you really need to look out for. That way you're making sure you're doing everything up to par and not getting stuck in customs, right? Or getting ripped off or scammed or things like that. So let's talk about a few things here that I've learned over my 3 years doing this that can be a little scary or tricky, or something that you can fall into a trap with. And the first one here is, if you choose to use Chinese freight forwarders, I recommend you get quotes from 2 to 3. Now, why I recommend this is because most likely you're going to get 3 quotes from Chinese freight forwarders, and you're going to see 1 and 2, they're going to be about $3,000 for shipping and customs. Then all of a sudden, this third one over here is going to be $1,000 or $1,500, and you're like, oh wow, I found a great deal, I found a bargain, let's go with 3. Now in this case, what most likely is going on is this third company is skipping the proper custom fees and the tariffs for your product to try and get your business with a smaller bill. Now this is awesome in theory because we're going to save money, right? We're going to save $1,500 or $2,000, but this is actually a trap and something that could get you into a lot of trouble. This is something that can get your product stuck in customs. You can get a huge fine and all these sorts of things. So that is why I recommend getting 3 quotes. So if you see that one that's $2,000 cheaper and you see these other ones that are, $3,000 and everything like that, you can go over here and be like, why is this so cheap? What's going on? You can start to question these things and start to figure out this process. And one trick that I like to do to make sure that I'm seeing these issues quicker is I ask my freight forwarders to give me a quote for the actual shipping of the product and the custom fees or the tariffs for this. That way, quickly on each quote, I can see this is the shipping cost, this is the shipping cost, this is the shipping cost, this is the custom cost, custom cost, custom cost. And then I can look across the board and I can see these two look same, but on the third one, there's no custom cost, there's no tariffs. So that's what's going on. That's why it's so cheap. And I need to avoid that scenario to keep myself out of trouble. So that's something I suggest and recommend for everyone to do, to get multiple quotes. Make sure you separate the cost and question, if something seems fishy or not quite right. The second trick that I've kind of learned over the time is to make sure that your outer master cartons, right? So these are the boxes that are getting shipped across sea that have maybe like 50 units in one box, or 100, or maybe 10, depending on the size of the units themselves. So these master cartons, they're called, need to be under a certain size and weight for Amazon, or else you can have your shipping, privileges suspended, or Amazon can charge you extra, or they could just, reprimand you in some way, which you just don't want with Amazon, just because they could do too many things to kind of hurt your business. And that is to make sure that your master cartons are always under 50 pounds. So what I like to do is just 45 pounds max. That way, if it's at 49 and a half, I don't get some angry Amazon employee having a bad day, round up and get me in trouble. So I like to do 45. And then dimension wise, it has to be under 25 inches by 25 inches by 25 inches on all sides. Again, same thing here. I do 24 inches just to make sure that I'm not even close and have some wiggle room there. And on these master cartons, there needs to be certain text for customs. So if it's made in China, you need to put made in China on the box there. There's a couple other things you need to put on the box as well. Again, I recommend, this changes quite a bit and something that's been a hot topic lately. I would recommend a good Google search here to see what you need to put on your master cartons on the outside. Talk to your freight forwarder, double check, with the Google search, double check with your manufacturer, but made in China for sure. And a few other things that could be on here could be, your company name, your product SKU, your gross weight, your net weight, your dimensions of the box. But again, like I said, double check and make sure you're up to code there. So that is it, guys. I know it's a lot of information to digest, but hopefully it helped and clear up the picture, of how this whole process works. I know it's a messy one. It's one that stressed me out quite a bit when I was learning this business. So hopefully that one helps you out. That's why I make these videos. Let me know if you got any questions down in the comments below. I know everyone's situation is so unique and different. It could be a different niche, it could be a different country and everything like that. So let me know in the comments down below. I try to apply to all of them and maybe I can help you with your unique situation. If this video was helpful, hit that like button. Just go and just poke it. Just give it a little poke right there. And guys, go check out my Instagram, CamronJames.co. I'm trying to post more on there, give a behind the scenes kind of look at my business and everything like that. So go find me on Instagram and I'll have the link in the description for that. And again, if you guys need to watch the video on how to make a shipment on Amazon, I'll put the video up here for you guys, again in the link description below as well. But that is it, guys. Hope that was helpful. We'll see you in the next one.